Hello, everyone. Happy beginning of the school year to you. Thank you for those that have sent me some messages letting me know how it's going for you. I love hearing from you. So if you have something to share, please share it. If things have been difficult or if you needed to be more flexible, just remember the beginning of the school year is always a bit of a jumble. So thank you for being diligent. Thanks for working so hard and being flexible. I want to share a few things with you that will help you this week as you teach and lead. And then one idea that I had as I studied 3rd Nephi 1 that I just want to share with you. First, all of these weekly messages I send to you, I also post on our training website, which is found at silearn.churchofjesuschrist.org. If you go there and log in, you'll see a dashboard like this. And if you click on the tile that says Philadelphia Area Teacher Training, it'll take you to a page like this. At the top of the page are the 3 most recent weekly announcements. If you'd like to see previous to that weekly announcements, you just click on announcements. Sometimes I'll post some resources in connection with these announcements on the training website only because I can't fit them in an email. So I wanted you to be aware of where those are at. Down below, there are some additional resources for you. There's a teacher resources page, which has the Book of Mormon Pacing Guide, teacher training materials, study resources. Some of these study resources are fabulous. It also has on it links to our faculty meetings, which our next faculty meeting is September 26th. So please look for the information in this weekly message, in the upcoming weekly messages. We're usually on the 4th Thursdays of each month, the last Thursday of each month, with a few exceptions when we have to adjust for holidays, at 9 a.m. or 8:30 p.m., whichever session works best for you. The Zoom link is always the same. It's the one that's right here. It's also the one that'll be in all of the messages that I send you. So that's right here. There's also frequently asked questions in the teacher toolbox. So just some great resources, again, found at silearn.churchofjesuschrist.org. Number 2, a couple of you have mentioned that getting into WISE has been difficult. If it is, here's a quick fix to try. Top left corner, will you make sure that these 4 things are selected? North America, Northeast Area, Maine Central Region, Philadelphia PA Coordinator, and then your stake seminary. Once you click through that, you should see your class and be able to take attendance. Please make sure you are taking attendance, if not daily, which is what we encourage, then at least weekly. Last but not least, there have been a couple of questions about class formats recently, and even though most of them are set and you're off and running, I wanted to show you where we get the guidelines for seminary class options. So in the Church Handbook of Instructions, under Section 15, which is Seminaries and Institutes of Religion, there's a section on seminary, and there's a link right here for seminary class options. And if you click on it, it takes you to a page that looks like this. A couple of things I want to point out to you. First of all, stake presidents are the ones that determine class options. They counsel with parents, they counsel with me as the SI representative, they often counsel with ward leaders, but it's a stake president who makes the decision on which formats for seminary are used within the stake. They use these 4 bullets as a guideline for that. And then down here in this chart, it shows the different class types, from in-person to video conferencing remote to asynchronous Canvas online to home study, and then the different iterations of those options. Notice that whether it's in-person or online or remote, we have either 5 days a week or 4 days a week. Those are the only 2 amount of day options that we have. Everything else is some kind of hybrid of those. We have to stick with these approved options. Anything outside of those approved options has to be approved. Any exceptions have to be approved by the Church Board of Education, which in addition to being a long process means we have to send a letter to the First Presidency, which we only do in needy cases. So please make sure you stick with this. If you're ever asked for your counselor advice, make sure that you reference this. Have full respect for your stake president as he makes those decisions. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. All right, last but not least, as I was reading 3rd Nephi this last week, just in preparation for what our seminary students are reading, I noticed something that stood out. The word fulfill shows up repeatedly in chapter 1. Most notably in verse 13, when the Savior to Nephi says this, "Lift up your head and be of good cheer, for behold, the time is at hand, and on this night shall the sign be given, and on the morrow come I into the world, to show unto the world that I will fulfill all that which I have caused to be spoken by the mouth of holy prophets. It struck me that in the many titles we could give Jesus, the one that we could apply to him based on this verse is that he is a fulfiller. And I don't know if I've thought of that title in relation to him before. He tells Nephi that one of the reasons he's coming into the world is to prove that things that have been promised by prophets will actually happen. And that's really empowering to me to think that Jesus is adamant about fulfilling the words that he has caused to be prophesied through prophets. It helps me to have a lot of faith and confidence in him. And as I think of our seminary students, in the next couple of chapters of the Book of Mormon, everything horrible in the world happens to the Nephites and the Lamanites. And if they didn't have a testimony that Jesus is a fulfiller, then those experiences could be really difficult. For those that don't have a testimony, it is really difficult. Well, our students have difficult things that happen to them on the daily. And they know that there are promises from prophets that are empowering and exciting, but they might need some strengthening in their testimony that Jesus is a fulfiller. So one way you could approach this week is by helping them gain that testimony that Jesus is a fulfiller, especially as we prepare for next week when the Savior appears to the Nephites and will teach them himself. Now there's a second thought I had connected. It's actually two thoughts that are going to seem like they're contradictory, but they're not. They just balance each other out. Thought number one, you, as a seminary teacher, are also a fulfiller. It has been prophesied by prophets that out of the mouth of babes there will be prophecies, that children will see visions and dream dreams, that they will receive the gospel and preach the gospel. And you teaching seminary helps to fulfill those prophecies. Thank you for being a fulfiller. I know that waking up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for seminary, and you're tired and they're tired, sometimes the tiredness can maybe diminish what it is that you're actually doing. But I want you to remember that you are a fulfiller. You're fulfilling prophecy. Thought number two that seems contradictory, I promise it's not, is this. I had a couple of friends I was talking with a couple of weeks ago, and we started saying to each other this, and I thought it was offensive at first, and then I realized it's actually just true. We were saying to each other, you know what? You're not that important. Now, what I mean by that is this. A couple of years ago, I had a friend that was teaching seminary, and he was asked to make an adjustment in the middle of the year from teaching his current class to teaching a whole new group of students at a different location. When his students found out about it, they were devastated, and so they threw him a surprise going-away party. And after the party, after the students had left, he was walking around the room picking up, and he was thinking to himself, you know, I did a pretty good job this year. And he said immediately he felt this humbling weight come upon him. And he heard these thoughts in his mind. Look on the desk there. Whose scriptures are those that you're using? And he said, those are your scriptures, Lord. And the voice came, and whose building is it that you're meeting in? And he said, it's your building, Lord. And the thought came back, and whose gospel is it that you preached this year? And he said, it's your gospel, Lord. He said, and whose power is it that convinced students that it was true and changed their lives? And he said, it's your power, Lord. And he said, exasperated finally, do I get credit for anything? And the impression came back, yes, you get credit for teaching my students my gospel out of my scriptures using my power. Now, there's two applications of that truth. One is, when things go really well in seminary, of course they're going well because you are there and you're a fulfiller of prophecy. But they also go well, maybe more importantly, they go well because this seminary is the Lord's seminary. They are his students, and he has the power to do all things. And far from that being a depressing thought, that should be an incredibly encouraging one, to know that you are not alone in your seminary class. In fact, you're not even the most important person in your seminary class. You are partnered with the Lord of the vineyard, and he is doing his work, and he allows us to be with him and to labor with him, which is incredible. The second application of that truth, though, is maybe more relevant. If things go bad, or if you have a difficult time in class, if you've asked a question for the third time and finally someone says, can you repeat the question? If you want students to be engaged and they're not, or if you have a lesson that you just don't feel goes that well, there's a temptation to feel like, man, I'm just not doing enough. Remember, you're not that important. This is the Lord's seminary class. They are his youth, and he is firmly in control of what happens. He won't violate agency, but he's in control. And so when difficult things happen, it's not your fault. If you are committed, your success is based on your commitment, not on whether or not students respond to that commitment. So thank you for everything that you are doing. Be so kind and give yourself so much grace if things don't go as you would anticipate them. And just look for the hand of the Lord in everything you do in seminary. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and we will see you on September 26th.